In this segment, I'd like to talk, Mark, about the holidays coming up and the typical problems that happen when people have a little too much to drink and then drive.
Well, we try to put out numerous messages for the benefit of the community, a lot of information for the benefit of the community during the holiday season, but always at the top of our list has to be the message of please do not drink and drive at any time, but especially so during the holidays. There are a lot of holiday parties, a lot of holiday cheer going around, but under no circumstances do we want anybody in the community out drinking and driving. You know, there are messages from all kinds of folks during the holidays. I wish it was year-round, from national organizations, from law firms like our own, and other entities about not drinking and driving. A drunk driving arrest can ruin so many aspects of your life, and that's if you're lucky. If you don't hurt or kill somebody is the worst case scenario. In that event, you're facing civil litigation, you're having to deal with the grief of injuring or killing somebody else. That family is dealing with that loss. Criminal representation, the attorney's fees, incumbent in all of that. And it's just so much easier to designate somebody in the group to drive for the group on that night. It's such an unnecessary event to be arrested for drunk driving when there are plenty of people who don't drink who would be happy to be the designated driver.
So it's an avoidable thing, but I think a lot of times, and you hear these public service announcements about people drive with a buzz on. So they're not falling down drunk, but they've got a little buzz on. But that still is drinking and driving, and I think that people are confused about that.
Yeah, you know, the legal limit in Florida right now is 0.08% blood alcohol content, and I don't know how people know for themselves when they reach that point. I mean, you can buy stuff that you can blow into that supposedly would give you some idea of where you are. But why chance it? Why not just have somebody designated to drive for the group, and that way there's no question whatsoever. If I'm going to go out and have a glass of wine with my wife at dinner, I'll have somebody drive. Either she'll drive or I'll drive or another couple that goes with us. Somebody in the group will drive who's not drinking that night. Everybody should adhere to that rule, particularly when you go to holiday parties. There's a lot of cheer to go around. People are having a good time at office parties, at the homes of friends and family. Why ruin an otherwise joyous occasion, happy occasion being with friends and family of drinking and driving and all of the horrible things that can result from that?
And the irony is once you've had one or two glasses of wine, your judgment is off anyway. So how could you possibly decide if you were in good enough shape to drive?
Judgment is always affected. You should know that law enforcement every year becomes more and more aggressive in setting up DUI checkpoints. And if you've had 2 drinks or 1 drink or 3 drinks or 4, there are questions that you're going to have to answer to a law enforcement officer, perhaps even do a field sobriety test. Why not have the person who's a designated driver who's had nothing to drink drive through that checkpoint and be waved on by the law enforcement officer?
Absolutely. We've got a couple of minutes left, and I'd like to talk about underage drinking. And that's a problem outside of the home, but it's also a problem in the home. And I'd like you to tell us about repercussions that mom and dad or older siblings or anyone that's an adult could suffer from allowing that.
I can't tell you how many times I've been involved in cases where there is a young person who has suffered a catastrophic injury or has been killed as a result of someone drinking, an underage person drinking and being involved in some kind of accident, whether it's automobile or otherwise. It happens, not just during the holidays, but year-round. And a while back we did a segment where I talked about social host liability. It's called the house party statute. And what it essentially says is that if you in your home serve alcohol to minors, or someone serves alcohol to minors with your knowledge, and that minor goes out and hurts himself or herself or hurts somebody else, you're going to be held legally liable for that. So in all circumstances where parents may be inclined to let underage kids, people under 21, drink in the home, they should not do it because it exposes themselves to all kinds of liability, not to mention all the bad things that can happen with an underage driver getting in an automobile accident or doing something else that injures himself or somebody else.
Even something as simple as falling down the front steps.
Could be. It absolutely could be. But I think in terms of, you know, somebody getting out on the highway, crossing the center line, hitting somebody head on. Now, not just the minor's family is affected. Now a completely innocent party who just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time is involved in a head-on collision. The medical bills incumbent upon that, the lost wages, if it's the wage earner in the family, if it's a mother staying at home and taking care of kids, that person can't do that. I mean, the consequences of those kinds of actions, people really don't realize what they can be until they're involved in it. And our message to folks is, don't do it. Don't even let it happen. Don't allow underage drinking in the house. Designate drivers to drive if you're going to be out and having a cocktail at night.
So they've got the jail time to deal with, the money consequences, the medical consequences, and then the guilt that they'd probably carry the rest of their lives if they were to injure someone or to kill them on the highway. It's just not worth it.
Any lawyer that's involved in these kinds of cases can tell you story after story of families being devastated, either by the person arrested or by the family of the person they hurt or killed. Families on both sides are devastated when something like this happens, and they have to deal with all of that, most likely for the rest of their life to some degree.
Well, I hope our viewers heed your warning. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you.
We'll be right back.